Meaning they are active during the day. They're hunting under sunlight, looking for things that love to run around under the daytime. However, our next ambassador is
Не тебя снимаю, Варя, не вас.
he's nocturnal.
Это Ян снимай, не бойся.
And this bird in particular
Тебя снимай, да, Ян, Варя, не бойся. Ты же снимай, это Ян, ты же снимай, давай.
But can anyone guess who I could be
Ты не
talking
попади в
about?
кадр, Варя.
Owl.
Now, this is a species that is the most
Ты не
common
попади,
in
Варя.
New England.
Да, давай.
They can be found pretty much all over the U.S. and are actually invasive on the West Coast. You probably heard them in your backyard before. They're known for their classic "Who cooks for you" call. Do you know what species I'm talking about?
The barn owl.
A barred owl. I'm going to be extra quiet for him because he can be a little more sensitive. But this here is Heartland, the barred owl. Now I emphasize the word barred because they're named for these chocolate-colored bars on their chest. Not to be confused with a barn owl, which is white and brown and lives in barns and isn't fluffy and round and gray like this guy. Now, Heartland here, as I said, has incredible hearing. That's an owl's superpower. These guys don't have external ears, and they're hunting under the darkness of moonlight. There's not a lot in the forest for them to see. Barred owls in particular have really dark colored eyes because they're hunting in the darkest of the night. They're not hunting at dawn and dusk like some other owl species. And while those eyes are really large to draw in moonlight. If we had eyes the size of an owl, our eyes would be the size of your fist. So if you've ever heard the phrase wise old owl, you might want to reconsider. Those eyes take up 2/3 of his skull, which helps to draw in the little light there is, but that's not their primary adaptation point. They can also see in ultraviolet light. Well, owls cannot see in the color spectrum that we can. They can see into the ultraviolet, which is what we can see under black light. And there's something that glows under black light that these guys are looking for. Heat. And their favorite snack of mice aren't really known for washing their hands after going to the bathroom. So they can actually follow the UV resin footprints and urine trails from mice to find exactly where they're hiding under a pile of leaf litter. And then they use that incredible hearing to track exactly where those mice might be. These guys can hear about 8 times as well as we can. They can hear the footsteps of a mouse from about 75 feet away, which means Heartland can hear the whole heartbeat of the front row. And that's because owls do not have ears on the same space on the side of their head like we do. Most species of owl have asymmetrical ears, meaning that one ear is slightly higher and more forward, and the other one's a little lower and farther back, so that they can hear in 3-dimensional sound. They can pinpoint exactly where that mouse's footsteps are coming from based on what section of the ear it hits first. Fun fact, raptors are not trained or potty trained. They go when they want. Now, they also have a facial disc or a facial ruff, which is this outline you can see here on Heartland's face when he chooses to face forward. And that is used just like a satellite dish to funnel sound directly into those asymmetrical ears. It's just like if you cup your hands behind your ears to form your own little disc, it makes me a little bit louder. Since they do not have external ears like we do, that's their way of funneling sound. Now once he's heard his prey and he knows exactly where it is, he has to swoop down and get it. Have any of you ever heard an owl fly before? You've seen them, but you probably have never heard them, because owls have silent flight. These guys have an adaptation to their feathers to make them almost silent when they fly through the air. The edges of Heartland's feathers are serrated, just like a comb, so that when he flies looking for mice, he makes almost no noise at all. Not only does that help him sneak up on prey, but when he's flying through the air using his amazing hearing, he doesn't want to listen to the flapping of his wings the whole time. If you take your hand nice and stiff and flap it towards your ears, this simulates a hawk wing. Nice, stiff, loud. owl. Spread your fingers apart, you now have an owl wing, and try it again. It makes a lot less noise. That's exactly how their feathers work. And when he glides on down to grab up those mice, he's doing so with something called zygodactyl feet. No, that's not a weird dinosaur term. It's the term for the orientation of his toes. He's got 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back, meaning he is zygodactyl. And those toes are grabbing up a wide variety of things. As a larger owl species. So Harlan's just getting a little bit nervous. That is called a bait. That is what they do when they're slightly uncomfortable. We're going to try to be nice and quiet for Harlan. So what he's grabbing up with those zygodactyl feet is a wide variety of things. Being a larger owl species, they're pretty opportunistic, similar to the red-tail. Barred owls are known to eat moles, voles, mice, shrews, your occasional rodents. They'll also eat things like songbirds and bats, the occasional lizard or snake. But barred owls in particular like to engage in a little bit of fishing. They've been known to eat small crawfish and trout, which turns the underside of their wings pink, just like a flamingo. Imagine if every time you eat seafood, you turn pink. My doctor says that's a seafood allergy, but on these guys, it's super cute. Now, while barred owls are a least concerned species, as I said, they are invasive out west. And they are invasive in the territory of the spotted owl. Now, the spotted owl is their smaller, spottier cousin, and are critically endangered. Now, the reason barred owls are invasive is due to habitat loss. These guys like to live in deciduous forests, living in dead and dying trees and nest cavities. They are cavity nesters. So, as people get rid of their natural habitat, they are being pushed farther and farther west. So, if you want to help out a barred owl, you can put up something like a nest box. On the BIN's website, we actually have the dimensions and all the rules for putting up nest box for American kestrels, eastern screech owls, barred owls, and barn owls. So you can help out a raptor in your backyard. Now, Harlan here is with us probably because he was displaced from his tree. He was found as a young owlet and taken into somebody's home. They kept him for several days before bringing him to a rehabber. And it took just those 3 days for Harlan to become imprinted on people. Now, being a human imprint, it means Harlan thinks he's a tiny human being. He did not grow up with barred owl parents, so he doesn't know how to do things that a barred owl must do. He doesn't know how to hunt for himself. He doesn't know how to find shelter in the wild. He wouldn't know how to find a mate because he actually thinks other barred owls are predators to him. He sees them as a threat. When little baby Harlan came to us, we knew almost straight away that he was imprinted as well. Because when we put him out with 5 other baby barred owls, he did not act like a barred owl. When we come in there to feed them with our ghillie suits, the camouflage suits, or the taxidermy puppets, all those other baby barred owls would run away, they'd hiss and hide and clack in the back corner. Harlan came straight to the door, begging for food, making little baby calls. And at 7 years old, he still makes those baby begging calls, which is not normal for a fully grown owl. Harlan has actually, since I came to BIN's, decided I'm his mother. Although I am clearly not a barred owl, he seems to think so. But because of that, he is non-releasable. He can never go back into the wild, and he can never be part of the breeding population, although there's nothing physically wrong with him. He's actually one of our newest debuting flight ambassadors this winter. But, alas, he's an amazing example of why if you ever find a wild bird, or any wildlife, you want to get it straight to a rehabber right away. Because while you are doing your best to try and help it, sometimes you're hindering it a little bit more. Rehabbers train for years and get years of experience before they get to work with these guys. So they're always going to be the best option. Now, do we have any questions about owls or Harlan? Yes?
Where are you feeding them?
He is getting Meese's Pieces today, which is cut up bits of mouse. Yes? What's your question?
So, for a short time I was staying on a friend's small farm in Chittenden.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are barred owls around and you hear them talking to each other, which they actually do. And one really stormy night, she was keeping like a number of ducks in a cage. But overnight, every single duck disappeared. It was taken somehow. And there was no evidence that anything broke into the cage. Could an owl have done that?
No. So most raptors can only carry 1/3 of their body weight.
Okay.
Harlan here weighs a whopping pound and a half. So also, they're not usually going to go after prey that's as large as they are. However, a fox or a weasel, who can easily get around a chicken coop's defenses or a duck coop's defenses, if you do not underlay the wire as well, is probably what went